based on what you have answered, is there any way we can hold the IFMS 2 so that we make sure that the mistakes that happened when we procured IFMS 1, it's not repeated? Like involve everyone wherever that you are. Is it impossible to stop it, and let's make sure that processes are being followed the way they should?
Chair, I would strongly advise that we even consider stopping it, because the cost will be much bigger and much more detrimental in terms of where the process is. But what we what we need to do is to further strengthen implementation side of the project, strengthen the oversight role that this steering committee should play on the project, and also strengthen, and Chair must be open and blunt here. I told the team a few days ago that I'm supposed to be chairing a steering committee in terms of diagram that is on page 3, slide number 3. On slide number 3, you have IFMS steering committee. And when I checked what is this, and people explained, they said I'm the chair of that committee. And then I asked, then I saw a meeting being arranged of this committee. And then I requested in the meeting, I picked up that the last time, and because I said for 3 months, from 15th of May, when I started acting till today, there's never been a steering committee, and I guess it's 3 months. For 10 billion, for 4.3 billion or 2.2 billion, at least we should have met once at least. But then in inquiring, I found that the meeting last took place in November last year of the steering committee. So that's what I'm saying. I'm not here to, sugarcoat. There are problems. And I'm prepared, as I committed earlier to the question, to get to the bottom of this project and actually make sure that it works. Make sure that at least the 2.2 billion that we have already spent, we can get value for it, including the balance that we're going to spend, in order to strengthen this. So stopping the project, honorable member, will be detrimental, and we might justify the fruitless and wasteful expenditure that we already are talking to with the AG. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. The AGSA on slide 36, the finding of the AGSA 2.3 worth of delayed payments to AGSA. I mean, I would expect this to happen in municipalities. I know that there are lots of municipalities that cannot pay Auditor General of South Africa. And the problem with a big department like you not paying AGSA, it means they won't be able to do their work. So what happened? Why was the AGSA not paid? If you can have all your Ernst and Young, which the chairperson had a concern with last week, that why is it only Ernst and Young, a company here in South Africa? Why are we always involving them? Why are you not involving others? And you find your own being not paid. What is the problem?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, this is one of the 54 findings, and it was unnecessary. We shouldn't have. That's why I think all management institutes said, these are being monitored on a daily basis. If you owe someone pay, at least we've got 30-day rule, and it should be to anybody that we owe, and it shouldn't be. That's why I use the word lapses. These were unnecessary in the way this finding. I mean, we should have done much better, and I think the project management office is on top of this, and I don't think it should ever happen again that because the CFO did not sign, or the fact that the CFO must sign, because there are some findings whereby the CFO did not sign or someone did not approve. But under normal circumstances it happens, but effectively you want all clear payments to be cleared before they are made. And So these lapses, we've noted them, we've discussed them internally, and we think it's critical that we don't repeat such mistakes. And, and this talks to the broader role, that if Treasury is failing on these things, then this is a serious area of concern.
Yep.
Why is it difficult? It's good that the Minister of Treasury is here. Kind of which one? The National Treasury, Minister of Finance is here. Why is it difficult for officials of government to collaborate with other departments in government? Like you heard that Deloitte, because is it Tush? Yeah, they've been contracted. You know, some of the service providers that you have contracted, you should have used our own here in government. Our own agencies that we have. Why do we rush to leave them and go and use others? Why is it a problem? Why are we overusing the service providers? And when are we going to put an end to them? These contractors, we have them year in, year out, and some of these contracts, they are unending. So it means forever we will still have these people at our back. We talk about economic transformation, Minister, every day, you know, as politicians. But we fail to do it when it comes to, you know, our own day-to-day work, implementing and making sure that we deal away with your Ernst & Young, PricewaterhouseCoopers and all those people. Because there are millions of South Africans who are not working. There are graduates who have their certificates. I remember in my constituency, somebody who had a social worker was applying to be an administrator in my constituency. That's how bad it is. And yet, you find a CEO here saying, yeah, we have these service providers. They even call them boutique. What did you say about boutique? The gentleman said boutique houses.
And you had a different concept of boutique.
Yeah, so we have boutique, you know, they have boutique skills. Why are we playing around with South Africans?
All right. All right. No. I said 3 or 4 questions so that we can. Yeah.
Yeah. The minister, when he comes, he will answer to that overusing of service providers.
Consultants.
Of consultants. SITA, you know, one thing good about us as members of SCOPA, we listen very carefully. And, you know, I don't know who advised you to say, yeah, we have seen it's a problem, we'll deal with that. That's the same answers that you gave when we were with Correctional Service at Old Assembly Chamber. You gave the same answers. We are not here to play. You see, we are not bored. We didn't call you because we were bored. And I think, Chairperson, we need to have SITA coming here, not SITA with Correctional Service or SITA coming with Treasury or IFMS. SITA must come here because there are lots of problems with SITA. That's why some of our departments, Chairperson, are not even using them because they cannot deliver. They are not committed at all. That's why they can answer the way that they are answering. There are millions of rands that we have used inappropriately, so you cannot even account to them. And the overuse again of service providers. What you have said here, the way you are answering some of my colleagues earlier on, you're actually saying there's nothing that you are doing.
Let's call them consultants.
The consultants.
Because service providers, it's almost as if we need services, we must go to consultants. It's a clever way of using words. Yeah, continue. These are consultants.
Chairperson, we cannot talk about capacity blanketly, so we need to qualify or quantify these capacity problems that you have. And I need to have a report on all these consultants that you have contracted to do some work for you. When are those contracts going to expire? And again, if we could have a report on your skills audit of SETA, so that we can check from the report, the skills audit, and check it as opposed to your service providers or contractors that you're having outside of your SETA. Check if we can marry them together. And looking at this, Chairperson, are we going to achieve what we have said in the NDP?
All right. I'm taking it, they are taking it as food for thought. All right, Comrade Boy, but before you, let me check the Chairperson of the Audit Committee.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, from my side, as the Chair of the Oversight Committee, I just wanted to echo what the DG has said. We do have challenges in this project, and I also would like to assure the committee that from an oversight point of view, out of the internal audit report, there were 2 processes that came out. One process was obviously intervention by management to rectify those weaknesses in the internal controls. The other process is consequence management, which is basically the forensic investigation. As far as the forensic investigation, as I've already alluded, Deloitte has been terminated. There's a new process underway. The terms of reference have been crafted and will also be expanded on the initial one to cover areas that have already been identified by the Auditor General. So from our side, Chair, we do acknowledge that there are challenges. There's also an increase in terms of specific focus from a risk assessment point of view, where from the first phases, risk was basically looked at comprehensively with other programs within Treasury. There has been a new process now whereby risk assessment or risk committee specifically focuses on IFMS projects. From the committee, we also see IFMS as a standalone, just to make sure that specific focus is put on it, just to make sure that all these areas we don't lose focus on.
Right.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. 3 questions, and then we'll move
No,
on.
no, it's my last one.
Okay.
Or 2.
Okay.
The last one will be directed to the Minister.
Great.
The Oracle debug and related to licensing, how does that one work? We spend a lot of money. They are here, Honorable Team, hearing that you are saying this project is 4 billion. But this is why, for your own benefit, sir, you better take the whole project and calculate all the monies going to the World Bank, how much would it cost us, dealing with the different entities, even what she's talking about, dealing with the auditor, what is this thing, Deloitte and Touch, and even the different, providers who became authority to themselves. It's a little bit not a good picture that the internal audit is painting. So I do hope that we'll get in detail how much it is. Minister, now this one can be answered by him. The internal audit says, besides what Tim has been trying, and I go along with him to say that it seems like in our work we'd have to get this cabinet memorandum as SCOPA. Now what the internal audit says, it says during the review we noted that the cabinet memorandum contains the approved overall budget for the IFMS project of 4.3 billion. However, there was no supporting documentation, records or financial analysis included to justify the expenditure line items related to the 4.3 billion. Now that should be shocking, man, that cabinet in itself endorses a document of that nature and pushes money to this project. How does that happen? Can cabinet guide parliament? That how does it make such nature of decisions where there's no total breakdown, line items, and a project that has so much taken since 2005 up until today, and cabinet just pushes money towards that direction? What we are talking about here, 4 ministers that have presided over this particular project, 2 presidents that have presided over this particular project, but no result, no results, no consequences. Bezathi uhlengwa kukwagogo la udla imali nje kamnandi nje kuyatyiwa nje la. How can cabinet not have seen anything wrong with IFMS 1 and agreed on it, and agreed on 4.3 billion with no motivation, with nothing explaining? That's why, I mean, the different service providers were just chowing. It's Christmas here. How does it happen in normal life? How does cabinet operate for itself to have arrived at such a decision? Was it so much in love with the auditor, with the Director General Fuzani, that they just sat there and they just listen and then endorse the decision? How can cabinet allow this type of an expenditure to go unnoticed? Now we're at 4.2 billion, but nothing was written as a supporting document that how does this expenditure, I mean, like, how is it going to be happening? How can we run a government of this nature? There's something wrong with us. Maybe, Minister, you'll give us better insight. How does such decision come to cabinet? And then cabinet just says, no, 4.3 billion, how can cabinet come to such a decision? And it's quite clear that, Chairperson, it opens up the areas of interest. We can't have 4 ministers presiding over one project, and they themselves not to be held accountable. Even at the stage that quite clearly 1 billion has been spent, and there's no accountability. And the plan is forwarded to cabinet, nobody seems to care. You see, I like what Tim was asking. 2005, there's nobody here to account. But what I'm saying is, in government, the people who must be held accountable for this particular development. Can't be 4 ministers ignoring such a situation. This is the 4th minister, if I'm right. 3 of them are outside, are former ministers. How do we come to that type of an environment where the expenditure is not explained? We harass departments every day when they don't have a business plan. That how did you make that decision? But it's shocking. 400 and something billion has been agreed by cabinet without itself providing evidence of how that money must be spent. I would leave it to the DG because you won't be able to answer it. Maybe I'll solicit some understanding from the cabinet member that how did this happen? If it doesn't, he must refer us somewhere where we can get this. We can go to the leader of government, write a letter, ask him to be able to provide us that how does such a decision occur, and nobody cares in cabinet.
All right. That was probably a more appropriate closing question, because then it pulls everything together to political responsibility and accountability. Before you respond, Comrade Minister, just a quick one from my side. And I think I would also want your reflections on it. Here it's an important program for the whole of government, national and provincial. But the way it is implemented, it is so shambolic. 1 billion rands later, you realize, no, this thing won't work. Because you had your hybrid model where you have your commercial off the shelf and you call it bespoke, which means you will customize it and So it goes back to what Honorable Prataseth asked, decision making. Well, this is about decision making. Was this just a thumb suck which we only realize at the end that this thing won't work, or what? It's quite shocking that would come to that. With the seriousness of National Treasury and the supposed skills at SITA, I think that's bad. Well, as if that's not bad enough, now you create the project management office with the objective of improving project management. And look where we are. We're here simply because that project management office that was supposed to improve project management arising out of IFMS 1 has its own challenges, and you, DG, now have had to take that step of now stopping payments because it appears there is no certainty about what is happening. And you said this is a complex process, but what do? You allocate a person here, Bodever, I hope I have the surname correct, who is assigned elsewhere, and she only gives 50% of her time to the project and the other 50% of her time to her other work. To such an important and complex project coming out of a 1 billion rands failure, you want to get it right. But you allocate the head of that project, somebody who has divided focus, and somebody who, if I heard you correctly, is not an ICT specialist nor a financial systems person. That's the person who must head that project. Just at that level, just those decisions, whoever it was who took those decisions, how does it make sense? Well, she is half there or half not there, and then what do you see? You find all these payments because now there are no controls, no one to monitor. And what does the internal audit finds? The monitoring of costs against contracted amounts with service providers was done informally by the National Treasury team. So it was done informally. Easy. As if that was not enough, discussions were held with service providers to ensure that they were also monitoring project costs, which means consultants must now monitor themselves. They must monitor themselves. That's what it says. Now, when you go to the next page, it says, it is important to stress that due to the limited financial resources for the project, limited financial resources for the project, reliance, Comrade Minister, hope you underline that word, reliance was placed on service providers' own internal controls and quality assurance. So essentially consultants, it's a consultant's paradise. They are on their own. They can do as they please. And thus you get the findings that are in the presentation, DG, that you have made. You go to slide, can't see properly these days, slide 35, the last bullet point, an amount of 7 million paid for not clear deliverables. And Lindy is there. She's the one monitoring this thing. 7 million paid, not clear deliverables. So, on what basis was this amount paid? And these things are happening in National Treasury. You know, not in the EPC, in National Treasury. I don't want to give an example of a department because then it will be like I'm undermining them. But I'm saying 7 million rands later, it has been approved until pay. But they are not clear deliverables. And KPMG, They were paid amounts 2.5 million and 2.2 million, but the reports that they were supposed to do were not finalized. Lindy is there. She's monitoring this process. And KPMG is asked to do some ad hoc work with no agreement in place. It was just given. And it's interesting that with these technologies, a service level agreement at the tune of 39 million was signed, when it was actually supposed to be 28 million. Now the question is, who signed that SLA? Fine, it was cancelled, but what happened to the official who signed that SLA? I do know that Biz Technologies, trading as Abacus, has captured treasure. If we're talking state capture in other entities, this one has been there at National Treasury for more than 10 years and getting contracts left, right, and center. And here they are. They're supposed to get a contract of 28 million and then somebody signs it at 39 million. So it's fine, it was cancelled. But who is that official? What has happened to that official? But what does that mean? How many other such SLAs have been signed? Because then I think from this side, we're starting to be worried now. If this happened with IFMS project, what other many projects within National Treasury suffer this kind of lapses, if one may use that word? When you go to slide 32. Okay, let me leave that one. I think if you go back to to all those findings, then one thing that comes through is that payment was made without looking at the work that has been done, or contracts were not in place, or service level agreement deliverables were not there, timesheets to justify amounts were not there. And I'm just saying, DG, if this was an important project which has just emerged from the embarrassment of not coming through, you would have expected that it would be handled much, much differently. And you said there are only 5 officials from National Treasury. Now, if you have a project of that magnitude, of that importance, and then you allocate 5 people, then the conclusion I can come to is that then the rest are consultants. And as such, then they just do as they please. So where are we? I think taking us back to where Comrade Boy was, that Comrade Minister, how do we say that not just National Treasury, but that government actually takes this project seriously? How do we say that? What evidence is there beside what is on paper at the level of implementation? So, DG, you are settled with this hot potato. It's on your laps now. And you are the one who must make the important decisions going forward. Clearly, you have been brought here, spend the whole afternoon, because Lindy here has been unable to do a job. But maybe she can't be blamed. She's not an IT specialist nor a financial systems person. Somebody has put her there, and that's it. I think, and I'm sure comrades here can make their own, but I'm sure that overall, as we round it off, we're left more with a sense that it's like uyadlalwa. We're not not serious. I just don't get it. From the first one, where decisions were made, right up to where we are now. I would want to give the minister to respond, but I see, Ross, you have...
Thank you, Chair. Just in closing, just a very small remark with regards to the responsibility of the procurement officer dealing with these massive contracts in terms of the financial implications and also the amounts that we've dealt with. I think as a SCOPA committee we should really engage with the procurement office as well, because there was a huge responsibility in the procurement office to also look into these contracts. It was not properly concluded. Thank you for the time.
Okay. All right. Comrade Minister.